So back to where the sheep were. This was the place that they were yesterday when I recorded this video. You can see how short this has been grazed, and in a second I'm going to flip this camera around and show you the comparison between where we just moved them to and where they were. This is where we have moved them to. You can see that the grass is very luscious. These sheep are going to get so fat on this grass. By the time we get done taking them off of the wetland easement, there's an entire area here. It goes through there and far past that, and then there is more that way, and it goes up towards the main row on that far hedgerow. So they have at least a couple of weeks of grazing. We are going away for a family reunion, so I'm not really sure what we're going to do with them yet, because we don't expect our hired help to move them, because this is a job, especially for people that are not familiar with it. And we don't have hired help that are familiar with this electronet and moving it. Where they were yesterday, you can see that they chewed it right down. We probably will end up putting these sheep back on here in the fall before we move them to our hay ground to flush them. We use our hay ground to flush them. We get 2 cuttings of hay off of it and then let it regrow from usually late August to October, and then we put them on that for the flushing purposes. This will be extremely beneficial because we've never done the timing quite like this before, so I'm curious to see how this works for flushing. And if you don't know what flushing is, that's basically feeding sheep a high nutrient diet a few weeks prior to breeding to get them to tell their bodies, hey, I can support more lambs. So when they actually release eggs and ovulate, they do sort of hyper-ovulation. So instead of releasing 1 or 2 eggs, they're more likely to release 3. It's not foolproof, and usually the younger lambs, because they're still growing, they are less likely to do it, but my aged ewes are very likely to do it. And when done correctly, it has been proven that it does work. I place an emphasis on the grass-fed genetics of my flock for this reason, because many other sheep breeders that don't have specific grass-fed genetics, they flush their sheep with grain. So you're feeding an entire flock. I will probably have between 25 and 30 breeding ewes. So you're flushing an entire flock. That gets expensive. If you're feeding them grain, like copious amounts of grain for a couple of weeks leading up to breeding and including breeding time, it gets expensive. Where this is more cost effective for us, we already have these resources, so we might as well use them. And as you can tell, I forgot my fly spray again today, and because Blake and I were sweating our butts off moving those meat chickens, I am very sweaty and nasty, and of course I'm sure I smell very appetizing to these flies. Let's